Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to take a few minutes to wait for people to trickle in. If you could, if you have any questions, we will be making use of the Q&A and the chat features that we'll be monitoring throughout the meeting. Well, it is 5 after, so let's get started. We'll be recording this presentation and posting it on the League of Women Voters Austin area YouTube channel later. So let's get started. I'm not sure how many of you joined us for our Civics 101 session, but we are moving forward with section 201, which is going to speak to understanding your government. And it's a new year, and we have many new people in office. So I wanted to take a minute and go over who represents you. I'm Jennifer Delk, and I'm the Community Relations Director for the League of Women Voters Austin area. I'm also a Travis County voter deputy registrar. So a little bit about the League of Women Voters. We're a nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of residents in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. You've probably seen us taking care of voter registration services, doing some get out the vote activities this fall. Many of you have used our voters guide or attended our candidate forums. We have a high school voter education and registration program called First Vote. We do policy presentations, and like we do today, we are having a civic education program. So who represents you? For starters, a representative is an elected official that voters have appointed to act or speak for your community. Your elected officials, they work for you. You may not necessarily have voted for them, but they represent you at the national, state, and local levels. They make decisions about many things that affect your everyday life. Who represents you is tied to where you live. We talked about this a little bit in the 101 sessions, but the numbers on your voter registration card are tied to geography. So for example, this little Congressional District 10 ties to the Congressional District 10 here on the map, and the representative represents every person that lives in that box. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to find your elected officials. So this is a page from the League of Women Voters of Texas website. They have a handy page that'll allow you to find your elected officials. I'll be sharing a note sheet to give you all the links that we go through today. So you don't have to, rush to write this all down. So we're going to start off with finding our elected officials. There's a page that you'll get to where you type in your address. And based on your address, it'll tell you, like your voter registration card, who exactly are your reps. So there's a long scrolling page of everybody from the federal level, your president, vice president, your US senators, all the way down to the most local, your city council members. So if you haven't done so already, I highly suggest starting over to that page, checking out who is currently representing you. But if you've attended your other sessions, there's more. We have a state board of education, we have school board trustees, we have district superintendents. So those can also be found by doing a bit of an internet search to see who they are. Next question is, how do you get to know these people? Couple of hints and tips. You can sign up for their mailing list. Now that we have new people in office, it's a great opportunity for you to check out their websites, follow them on social media, take a look at the voters guides and candidate forums that happened in this fall even, and just take a moment to figure out what the platforms are that these people stand for, and take a minute possibly to write to them if you aren't familiar with them. The next question is, how do you know which offices to contact? Now, that is a tricky one because, as I said, just about every bit of everyday life is affected by a representative. The best way to figure out who does what is to start local. You can either do this on the internet or start by calling 311 and ask the operator. 311 is pretty much a national number that you can use to get information. So I will walk you through a couple things. So this is an Austin area focused talk today. So this is the city of Austin's 311 website. They have a mobile app. You can dial 311 and get to an operator. They have social media. They're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can either call for assistance or just file your complaint through this app, or figure out what office you need to talk to. So I did a little bit of Googling in my free time and decided to see how far you could get with saying who represents me and a thing and a place. So, Google can find quite a few things. So for example, if you're interested in finding something about stop signs in Pflugerville, like how do you get a new one? You'd want to start at Pflugerville Public Works. If you're curious about school curriculum in Texas, all roads are going to lead you down to the State Board of Education. So State Board of Education at the Texas Education Agency. Let's see. So once you've actually located the person that is behind, whichever concern or question you have, it's best to contact the representative either by phone, a letter, or an email. It's your opportunity to state your opinion and educate them on something that's happening with you. So for example, back to that street sign in Pflugerville, you're concerned that there should be a street sign at a busy intersection and there currently isn't one. You'd want to start by contacting the representative at Pflugerville and stating where you would like it, what's going on, if there's been any sort of fatalities, as much information as they could possibly, to prepare them for, helping you with the problem, versus saying, I just need a stop sign. It would be best to give them some background information as to what's going on in the area. So tips on contacting your representative. When you contact them, you should let them know who you are and the area you live in. So for example, you'd want to start off and say, hi, I'm a resident of, back to Pflugerville, resident of Pflugerville. I live in this area, live on this street. Discuss a topic and ask them to take a specific action. So back to the, this is a busy intersection. I have concerns that, somebody is going to, run through the intersection and someone might get hurt. And the key would be to keep your message short and simple and thank them for their time, but also give them enough detail that, they can get back to you on the issue. So you'd want to make sure that they have your phone number or a way to get in touch with you for more information. So other ways to engage. Things are sometimes a little more complex than just, asking for your stop sign. You might want to get involved in attending meetings, like going to an actual city council meeting or providing testimony. There are also organizations who share the same interests and engage with your representatives on a regular basis. So those are more ways to engage to get your needs across. So I decided to kind of break down ways that you can engage with your representatives, because everybody, it's busy time. You may not have a whole lot of time, but you want to be able to use your voice in any way possible. So there are many ways to start a movement. So for example, there's social media, just being that person that is going to pass on an action alert to your network can make a difference. Signal boosting something that's already out there. If you have 30 seconds, you can enlighten a friend with your knowledge on an issue. If you've got a minute, you can take some time to think about what could I do to make my neighborhood better. If you have more than a minute to spare, 3 minutes, you can call your representative. You can identify yourself, describe an issue, and possibly move something forward that they didn't know about. 5 minutes, you can type an email to your elected official. That's something I actually did yesterday. I had some concerns about something going on in my neighborhood, so I took a quick minute to type off a message to my city council representative. Now, if you have a lot of time on your hands, this is where you can start to join like a local board or commission and be part of the conversation. City of Austin has boards and commissions that the general public can sit on to help inform city council. You can join a watchdog organization that holds public offices accountable. There are many, many nonprofits out there that are speaking to a specific cause, like for example, clean water or clean air. The League of Women Voters has policy positions that we hold public offices accountable, and we have people that speak at the legislature on such things. So if you are interested in staying on top of things that are going on in the legislature, you can contact the League of Women Voters. You can text ACTION to 80123, and that will get you signed up for action alerts through the League of Women Voters of Texas. And like I mentioned before, you can sign up to serve on a city board or commission. Our friends at the Austin Common did a recent podcast episode, and there are some great explainers on serving on city council boards and commissions. Our friends at the city of at Austin Common are also great to follow for nonpartisan news. And the next thing that's coming up is that we're having a virtual lobby day, League of Women Voters of Texas, February 6th. Something that's super important for you guys who are looking to engage. There is going to be a third part of the seminar that's going to speak specifically to messaging, contacting legislatures, and taking action on two big things that the League is looking at, which is redistricting. Redistricting has to do with those little squares as far as the amount of population that is represented by a specific senator or a congressperson. And then we are also looking at voting and election law legislation. So we're at the end of our talk. This is super quick, but I wanted to let you know that their previous civic sessions are available online, and you can find them on our YouTube channel. So at this point in time, I'm going to give you guys the link to the note sheet that has all the links to what we talked about today. And I will open it up to question and answer. If you guys have any questions or you'd like to share an experience with contacting a public office, chime in.
Hi, this is Maria Milner. I am the second VP of Community Relations and Equity and Inclusion at the League of Women Voters of the Austin area. I just want to go ahead and thank everybody who is in attendance today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the question and answer section of our webinar. If not, you can also put it in the chat in case you're kind of trying to navigate between the question and answer and the chat session. I am monitoring both, and I would be happy to relay those to Ms. Delk so that she can go ahead and hopefully help answer these questions. Yeah, so please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, and here's the note sheet that has all the links from today. Moving forward as we go through our journey through understanding your government, we are hoping to provide more information to you guys that are attending these talks and those of you who are watching on YouTube. We'll be sharing, ways to contact these offices or, tips on how to give testimony, etc. Let's see, we have a question that came in from Selena Yee. Let's see. Selena has tried to apply to several city boards and commissions, but it has been difficult to determine which are actually available and how best to understand each commission's goals. Tips I have, let's see, based on the great podcast from the Austin Common, the biggest tip that they had to offer is actually messaging your city council representative that you're interested in being on a board or commission and asking them for additional information on how to be part of them. City council members will have a better read on which positions are available still. As far as I know, there are still openings on many. So contacting your actual city council rep will be helpful. And they can also assist you in, they can make a recommendation to put you on a commission.
So yeah, and we have one from Jane Elizabeth Madison. Thank you so much for your question. They would like to know they would like to tell the DOJ to charge everyone who entered the Capitol. Who should they contact?
Okay, are you referring, Jane, are you referring to the United States Capitol? Are you referring to what happened a couple of weeks ago? If it's something related to a federal organization, there's a couple of ways to start. You can write to Congress members. You can also track I believe as far as the incident of a couple of weeks ago was that there are currently a few senators proposing actual legislation with regards to those who entered the Capitol. So for starters, I would start with writing to senators, Department of Justice. I would check their website and see if there is someone you could talk to there about where to start with that. But usually when it comes to offices, there's always a secretary, kind of in the same way, like, for example, if you ordered, say, a sweater online and it has a hole in it, you should contact the person that you purchased the sweater from and ask to talk to a representative. It works very much the same way when dealing with government offices. There's always an operator, a main number that you can get to. So the department, federal DOJ will have a number. But as I mentioned before, there are a few people who are already starting lawsuits and legislation against those who stormed the Capitol.
Yeah, something just of note, you might want to check in with your local ACLU chapter as well. That's the American Civil Liberties Union, to see if they have any suits against what you're trying to communicate to. And just as a reference, the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. So we are just simply answering the questions that are being asked at this time.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, check in with, there are several nonpartisan groups also that are sending out action alerts. I personally subscribe to several, so that is another place to check out. ACLU is one of the many. Let's see, next question is,
Yeah.
how is the League of Women Voters involved in talks over redistricting? Do we talk to the redistricting commission? The Texas League of Women Voters is involved with redistricting talks at the legislature. And as I brought up, you can get some more details if you check out the lobby day event that's coming up in a couple weeks. They'll be specifically talking about a couple of action items related to redistricting. Let me pull up that slide. Yeah, they're looking at voting rights and redistricting from a national perspective, and then also redistricting and voting rights with an impact on communities of color in Texas specifically. And another thing to check out is the Fair Maps project we're part of. Maria, can you think of any other spots that someone might want to take a look at as far as?
Like Jen said, the Fair Maps redistricting information is out there. And for the League of Women Voters, we actually are working at that at the Texas level. Our contact is Miss Stephanie Swanson. So you can find this information at the League Texas site, which let me just go ahead and pull that up real quick. It's my.lwv.org/Texas. You can look for any information from our Texas or state league level at that site. So again, it's my.lwv.org/ or / I think Texas, TEXAS. And you can find that information in what our current issues, advocacy issues are. If not, you can probably find it through using the search engine on that site. So thank you so much for asking.
And Stephanie will be speaking at Lobby Day, and I'm working on finding out if that's going to be recorded, but it's on the Saturday the 6th. Did anybody have any other questions? We've got some time to answer a few more.
So just to acknowledge Selena Yee, thank you so much for thanking us for doing all the work that we do. We do want to acknowledge that we do this work in service of our community. So asking these questions, getting involved in these sessions, letting others know about these sessions is a vital portion of making sure that we are able to do this work. So if you are able to forward this information, that would be great. We just got a question from Joshua McVeigh. Do you work with any nonprofits in town that would be good to get involved with?
Let's see. I'm not quite sure which nonprofits that you are speaking of. Are you thinking of somebody in a specific avenue? Be helpful to get a targeted answer, because we work with a lot. So it would be helpful to narrow it down. Let me answer. Jane Elizabeth is back and wanted to know if we're going to email the link to the summary doc, and the answer is yes. I'll make sure that you guys get a URL to this document.
So Jen, we have Selena who has raised her hand. So I'm going to allow her to talk at this moment so she can directly ask you or comment on anything that you are saying at this time.
Good.
Selena, you are available to talk.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to raise my hand, but I actually do have a question. Do you all know on, I guess, a local level or state level, if there's an organization or nonprofit that works towards, workers' rights and raising the minimum wage? I don't know if I accidentally muted myself or not.
No, I'm thinking about that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think maybe it's more of a federal thing.
Well, Texas would have authority to raise the minimum wage statewide. So let me see who is specifically working on it, because I know a couple of organizations have brought it up in Texas. So let me. Because I know that the state office that would be going for would be the Texas Texas Workforce Commission. So possibly Workers Defense or AFL-CIO. AFL-CIO is mostly dealing with unions.
Okay. Thank you. I did find the Texas Workforce Commission online, but I wasn't quite sure how to address them. So that's why I was hoping to find a nonprofit to support or align myself with. So thanks for answering that question.
No problem. Another thing that I find helpful when you're kind of trying to figure out what groups you might align with is I kind of reverse search. It is sometimes easy to find the organization that's going to make the decision. So in this case, wages are associated with Texas Workforce Commission. Do a quick search to see, like, for example, if somebody is in the news, like hopefully you have a trusted news source, and you might want to just, like, for example, I'll just pick a random news entity out of a hat. Let's just say the Texas Tribune, to their website, you type in Texas Workforce Commission, and you'll likely find an article that speaks to possibly an organization who is, either putting forth testimony
Okay.
or against them.
No, I think that's a great tip. I'll do that.
Yeah, frequently when I'm trying to hunt down something, I might hit up a news source and then try and reverse search it based on the organization.
Sorry, thank you, Selena, for that question, and hopefully that helped put you in the right direction. Joshua McVeigh did follow up. He said, sure, I've seen LWV works a lot towards campaign finance reform. Are there any nonprofits you work with to try to get limits on campaign donations in Texas?
Let's see. Well, the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, and I believe many of the nonprofits that are working on limits are partisan organizations. I'm trying to think, Maria.
Yeah, it's actually a really important part of how we work as an organization to be able to partner with nonprofit, non-political, or nonpartisan organizations at the League of Women Voters. Josh, when it comes to campaign finance reform, that's what we're going to be looking for in terms of partnering with folks. In terms of nonprofits, it would be, yes, Ms. Debbie Voss, who is our VP of organization, is on this webinar. She's let us know that the League has backed democracy dollars at the local level. So that's somewhere we can start if you're working alongside the League. Democracy dollars is a very important part of kind of reformatting campaign finance in every level of office. So if that's something that you're interested in, please let us know, and we'd love to have you on board as maybe even one of our volunteers.
Let's see. Do we have any other questions?
No, just thank you from Joshua for answering. And yeah, if anybody has any questions at all that we can go ahead and answer at this point in time, there's no question that is quote silly or kind of out of the range of this conversation. If you have a question, please ask it. It is for the betterment of everyone who is listening in.
Yeah, and it'll help inform our future sessions. I can tell you right now that we are looking specifically at talking about, working with city council in upcoming sessions, and a couple of things related to schools, school boards, TEA. And then we'll also do a couple of dives into historical people power movements. But really, these programs are for the community. So if there's an interest, I will gladly look it up, find a subject matter expert to bring it forward in the future.
So we have a question here from Aisha Hassan. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Do you provide presentations on voting and government to small groups?
Depends on the schedule. The answer is, if you want to shoot us an email, we can see if we can meet your request or point you in the direction of a recording. This current time of year is slightly slower for us. It was a little crazy this fall with the upcoming major election, but yeah, if you send us an email, we can talk to you some more about it.
Yeah, and you can email our community relations team at Jennifer Delk, who is our community relations director, jdelk, DELK, at LWV-Austin.org. I will make sure to have that in our chat. Yeah, Jen just posted that. Or you can email Maria Milner, which is myself, at mmilner@lwvaustin.org. So if you would like to have a presentation for your group, we would definitely be happy to try and accommodate you. And maybe if it has to do with any of our civic sessions, we can certainly see about trying to kind of rebroadcast or point you in the direction of our previous broadcast. And if you have any follow-up questions, we can certainly try to work with you on that. We are an all volunteer organization. So what we do, we're doing out of the passion that we have for voter education, registration education, and outreach. So we definitely want to work with folks in regards to both what we can availably make possible, and also something that can work on your time. So thank you so much, Aisha, for that question. That's a great question.
Well, as we said, no question is too big or small at this point in time. So if nobody has anything else, we may be wrapping it up a little sooner, but
So Jen, it looks like we have a relatively quiet
yeah.
participant level. So thank you so much to everybody on my behalf, and I will let Jen finish out the session.
Yeah, thank you guys for attending. As I said before, now is an excellent time to get to know your new representatives. Also a good time to touch base with your old ones, because many of them have, new office mates now. Some entities kind of elect people in alternating years, so that way it's not a completely new group of people starting the year. So yep, sign up for some mailing lists, follow them on social media, write them a letter. And if you have questions, feel free to contact us. I'll make sure to email out the link to that note sheet, so that way those of you who didn't quite catch it can take a look at it. And highly encourage you to sign up for Lobby Day and subscribe to the Austin Common. Got to say that they are my favorite nonpartisan news source for local information right now. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll be back in a couple weeks.